Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to Answers Life. Thanks for joining me for another video. I just want to share with you guys a little bit of what's been on my mind the last week or so ever since I went back to work. But before I do, I would like to start out by saying that I am very appreciative of my old job, the fact that they hired me back. I mean, I think my supervisor is excellent and I like the work I do. It's a fairly laid back work environment, and for the type of work I do, the pay's not that bad. In fact, the pay, like I told you guys the other day, the pay that I'm earning is a little better than what I've anticipated when I first decided to go back to my old employer. However, after having a taste of what it's like to not have to be on anybody's time clock, after getting a taste of what it's like for me to be able to do my own thing, make up my own schedule, I do have to admit that those days will be missed. But those days will be coming back. When? I don't know. I, I mean, given the way the economy is, I just feel the most financially responsible decision that I can make is to put myself in a position to where I'm stacking as much money as possible and I'm earning as much money as possible under my circumstances. And I was just thinking, there's a lot of people that go to work every day. And you go to work, most people, you go to work, you earn whatever income you earn, you pay your bills. And there's a lot of people out here that go to work, they work their butts off to consume a bunch of stuff. Now, I think where I live is a nice area. I think my house is a nice house. And I know a lot of people that only wish they could live the way that I'm living. Because you got a lot of people that are out here living in squat, that are working full time and still can't afford to live anywhere. You got people that are living in squalor. You got people out here that are forced to have to live in a vehicle because cost of living is so expensive in many parts of the country that people can't even afford to live in a sticks and brick structure. So the setup that I have here, I'm blessed. And it is, I mean, I'm blessed. I just am. But at the same time, I also, the older I get, the more I'm thinking, it's not always about how much you have, it's about how much you control. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, I'm going to use myself as an example. Now, granted, I'm not living in a mansion, but I do live in a pretty darn nice house. At least for me, it's nice. And I was just thinking, and I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. This is just a thought process. Because even though I'm happy to be working again and I'm appreciative of having my old job back here in Alabama, I'm also thinking of ways that I can eventually go back to do my own thing, go back to being on my own schedule, and do it in a manner to where I can stay being on my own schedule and eventually not have to go back to a 9 to 5 at all. And although right now that's not a reality, I would like for that to be a reality in the future. And I was just thinking of all kind of things that I can do to make that a reality again. And I'm thinking, okay, many people that look at how I live my life, Now, granted, I don't live fancy. I don't live high on the hog. However, I do understand that I live a much more plush life than many people do right about now. But I'm also thinking, what if I downsized my living standards a couple of notches? I mean, I'm not trying to downsize to the point where I'm going to be back in the hood, and I'm not trying to downsize to the point where I'm going to be living in a vehicle full time. Now, for those that choose to live like that, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what makes you happy, and if you're good with that, then do what you do. I'm not knocking that at all. But for me personally, I was just thinking, what if I downgrade my living just a notch or two? Like, I was thinking, what if I sold my house here and purchased something a little closer to my job, a little closer to larger cities, kind of like what I suggest most of you do if you're looking to live in a rural community? Not only that, but what if I purchased a house that was a little smaller than what I currently have? Just a little smaller. And, as much as I love larger lots, you know what? I mean, I don't want nothing super small when it comes to the lot. I mean, I'm not trying to be so close to my neighbors that I can look out my window and see inside their living room. I'm not trying to be that close. But what if I purchased something with a lot just a tad bit smaller than what I currently have? And the difference between the money I would potentially get back once I sold my current house and the money that I would pay for this smaller house, for this downsize. If I took that difference and I don't know, and I invested that some of that difference into some type of a business endeavor. I mean, one thing I considered doing was I'm thinking I could maybe go out here and purchase one or two cheaper properties and rent them out. Now, obviously, if I were to do that, I already understand there is no guarantee of how any of that is going to turn out. I might get a wonderful tenant, I might get a shitty tenant. I don't fucking know. But it's something that I thought about doing. I mean, I thought about doing that with a combination of some other small business endeavors. And I figure if I were to do that, if I were to build that up, eventually, and I don't know exactly when, but eventually, I would be in a position to where I could leave my 9 to 5, go back to doing my own thing, go back to traveling whenever the hell I want to travel, go back to not having to mind anybody as far as having to punch anybody's time clock or abide by any policy, so to speak. Now, I know for a lot of you that would be the life. I know for me that would be the life. But for me, I'm actually trying to figure realistic ways that I could go back to that. Because honestly, like I said, the older I get, the more I understand. Now, some of you might disagree with this philosophy, but personally, this is how I feel. The older I get, the more I understand that it's not always about how much you have, it's about how much you control. Like, how I mean, let me think of an example here. I mean, let's say you're working a job to where that job pays you what did it say, $75,000 a year. And there's somebody out here there's someone out here that works for themselves. And let's say they only make $50,000 a year. Now, I understand the probability of a business failing is 80%. I understand, I get it. However, that person that's working and earning $75,000 a year, the way the economy is in modern times, that person could still be at risk of losing their job. And a lot of times, by the time that person knows that they're not going to have their job, they may not know until the last week or two that they're going to get laid off. So people like that are going to have an extremely short period of time to make the proper financial adjustments if they lose their job. And if they lose their job and they stay with the mindset of hoping that they get another job. If they get another job, it might pay the same, it might even pay better. But unfortunately for a lot of people, when they have to get another job in these economic times, that job is going to pay less. And sometimes significantly less. As for you take someone who's making, let's say, $50 a year and they're working for themselves. Okay, yeah, they're making less money today. But if that person that's making 50, if they think of other business endeavors, guess what they can do? They can move around their schedule. They have more freedom to move around their schedule to where they can fit more stuff in to their day, to where maybe they can go from making 50 a year to making, let's say, 60 a year. And then 60 a year to 80 a year. I think you guys get the idea. Another luxury that a person has when they work for themselves is if they need to take a day off for family situations, or they feel like taking a day off, or they feel like traveling around like what I enjoy doing. Guess what? They don't have to get granted permission from no supervisor. They don't have to fill out no slip a month or two in advance stating that they want these 2 days off. They can just simply rearrange their schedule and probably arrange their finances to where they can take whatever days they feel they need to take off, and then just take those days off. And when they come back, guess what? As long as that person is good at what they do, they're going to have a job. But if you try to do that at a regular job, maybe the first time, okay, whatever, they'll let you slide depending on who you work for or who your supervisor is. But after the second time, and definitely after the third time, you might come back to a job and discover that you have no job because they would have then terminated your position. So that's why I say it's not always about how much you have. It's about how much you're able to control. And I'm thinking in my personal life, if I downgraded my living standards a notch or two, and I increase the amount of assets that I actually have control over, in the long run, not only will I increase my income potential, but I will also increase the chances. Well, I don't know how to word this, but I will also put myself in a position eventually to where I can earn the money that I desire to earn, and I can live the lifestyle that I desire to live. So hopefully for at least some of you, what I'm saying makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off because it's getting dark and you probably can't see me barely right now. I just wanted to come outside and do an outdoor video before it got dark out here, because it's been a few days since I did a video like this. So as always, if you enjoy what I do, give videos like this a thumbs up. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. Stay blessed.